Pash Fam, it's Paula, and today I'm going to be telling you 6 steps to help you get over a funk. I want to say that getting over a funk is not easy, and although I'm giving you 6 steps, they don't necessarily have to be in order. You can start with 3 and go back to 1 and then go to 5. It's all up to you, but this was just the process that made the most sense to me. So what is a funk? A funk is basically this feeling of being lethargic and apathetic, and you can't really explain it. You're feeling unmotivated and unproductive, and it slowly but surely takes over your life. Hopefully with these 6 steps, no matter what order you choose to do them, will help you get back on track. I know that it certainly helped me in times of stress, and I want to be honest with all of you that this is something that I recently went through, so that's why I'm sharing it with you, and I would never give advice that I personally would not take myself. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first step is to name it. And when my friend Rika told me about this step, I was sort of confused. I was like, I have no idea what that means. But over time, it makes complete sense because a funk, you don't really know where it comes from, or it really can't be explained. All you know is that it has power over you, but giving it a name or knowing where it stems from is one step closer to giving you the power and ownership and responsibility over the funk. So, for example, the most recent one I had, which was literally yesterday, but the name that I gave it was, this is my I'm still getting used to living in San Diego funk. That's the thing about funks. Everything can be going right in your life. I love working here at Passion Planner. I'm now a lot closer to my boyfriend, who I lived 100 miles away from before. And I have family and friends who love me, but funks can still happen even when things are going great. And I think being able to make peace with the fact that I still am getting comfortable with being here was a really liberating experience because I got to take ownership over my own feelings. Something else that I want to mention, we posted this on Instagram the other day and somebody said, what if I can't name it? That is a completely reasonable question. I wasn't able to name this funk for weeks, and not being able to name it is probably one of the biggest struggles. But the response that I find helped me the most is maybe don't identify or name the funk just yet, but just name the feeling and start there. Sometimes naming the feelings is a hard thing in itself. So start small and be compassionate with yourself. It will take some time. Funks don't heal overnight. The second step is to feel the funk. Usually for me, funks or the apathy or being lethargic is actually a symptom of a deeper emotion or feeling. For me, recently, I am still getting used to living in San Diego funk, was me actually feeling pretty depressed. And I work with a therapist pretty frequently, and when she named this feeling for me, it was shocking, but there was a sense of a weight being lifted, because when you're experiencing a feeling and you don't know what it is, it really takes over you and has a lot of control over you. When you suppress the feeling, at least for me, it just festers and grows, and it ends up impacting your everyday actions and everyday behaviors. It can impact your relationships, how you engage or connect with people at work. And I know for me, that was definitely how it was manifesting. I wasn't able to be present in a lot of conversations, and my mind was never present, and I was always anxious. And when I finally made peace with the fact that, okay, maybe I am feeling depressed, it was freeing, even though it was hard. That's something else I want to stress too, is that something can be freeing, but it can still be hard. And take ownership over that. Healing is slow and it's never easy, but it's always worth it. The third step is to talk about it. And don't just talk about it with anybody. I think it's important to identify people who you really trust, people who are really going to hear you and sit with you in your funk. I like to choose people who I know are not going to silver line my suffering. I know there's always a positive way of looking at things, but when you're in a funk, especially in a deep one, and you're feeling really stuck, I think you're looking for people really to just hear you and listen to you, as opposed to find a solution for what you're going through. Honestly, this is probably one of the hardest parts of this process for me. I sometimes feel really uncomfortable with asking for help and sharing my feelings with other people. But in order to have authentic connections with people, I really need to learn how to be vulnerable. And if any of you are fans of Brene Brown, she is all about how asking for help and vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. And it just helps to build genuine connections with other people. The fourth step is to get inspired. And basically, this is just what do you need in order to make a mindset shift. You might need something different. Some people are inspired by results, so seeing people who are happy, and that's great. I personally am inspired by people who are in process, so who don't necessarily have things figured out, but they're sharing their process with other people because they're okay with being imperfect and okay with being incomplete. And especially when I'm going through a funk, I really admire those people for being straightforward about not having it all figured out. But the thing is, when you're going through it, it can be tough because you lock yourself in your room or you isolate yourself or whatever makes you feel like, whatever, I don't care. Or at least that's how I am. I found that what helps me in terms of a mindset shift is, and this is gonna sound super cheesy, but I am really excited to someday be a mom. And the mindset shift that really worked to help me get out of this past funk that I've been in is treating myself like I would treat my future daughter, and to ask myself, is this how I would treat my future daughter? Or is this how I would talk to my future daughter? And it was a complete 180. It was so different because I think when I'm in a funk, I kind of just want to isolate myself, and the self-love and the self-compassion basically isn't there. But when I personified myself as my future daughter, it radically changed the way that I saw myself. I really think that how I raise my daughter in the future is going to be how I raise myself right now. So maybe that gives you food for thought, but whatever perspective or shift in mindset works for you, just take it and run with it, and hopefully the funk will be gone in no time. The fifth step is to start with one small thing or one small habit. For me, it's been journaling. I made it a point that even though I was feeling like crap, I was going to journal every single day if that was the only thing that I did for the day. And I actually learned this tip from one of the Pash fam. Her name is Connor, but she talks about using the Seinfeld method in order to continue a habit, especially when it's hard. So in my passion planner, I used the monthly layout to create an X every time I journaled. And it's really motivating to see basically the string of journaling that I had done, and I had never broken the chain. And basically that's the whole point of the Seinfeld method, is that you just don't break the chain. And that keeps you motivated to keep going and stay on track with your habits. For me, it's journaling, but I think it's also knowing what environments are exacerbating your funk or exacerbating the feeling of feeling stuck. And if you're anything like me, I tend to hole myself in my bedroom and I don't leave and I don't go outside, and I'm basically in darkness just watching Netflix. But if you know that a certain environment is not good for you, your one small step can be, I'm going to go outside today, even if it's just for a little walk. I am a big believer that it's really the small things that make big change. So whatever that small thing is for you, do it with conviction and make sure it's something that you can commit to. Don't start off too big. If it doesn't work out, then you may be discouraged, but I think the small things really do help. The sixth and final step is to call in reinforcements, which basically means just asking for help again. I've mentioned before that I see a therapist. I actually message a therapist. I use the Talkspace app. But I do know that therapy is not necessarily accessible to everybody, whether that's financial burden or there are just no therapists in your area, or the therapists in your area are not really resonating with you, which has happened to me before. But I think the thing that's key here is community and finding people who are going to make you feel good about you, but are also going to hold you accountable to getting out of your funk. These are people who are going to be gentle and loving and kind towards you, but also know about the power of your potential and are going to commit to helping you get there, even if it means they have to drag you out of bed. Those, I think, are the people who I really depend on in my life. I am hopeful that each and every one of you has a person like that in yours. If therapy or community is not accessible to you, there are actually tons of therapists and people who are wellness advisors, who are content creators on YouTube and on Instagram. And I think it's important that if you can't get that one-on-one interaction with a professional, that you're still hearing from them through the content that you consume. Whether it's through your friends, your family, your therapist, or people online who inspire you, I just encourage you to seek help when you need it and know that it's okay to ask for help and it's not a weakness. This topic is really close to my heart because it's something that I personally went through when I was writing the blog. I try to create content that is applicable in my own life because it feels authentic to me. And when we posted the 6 steps to get over a funk on Instagram and Facebook, it really resonated with a lot of people. And if you're one of those folks who saw that or are watching this video and are experiencing some of the feelings that I described, just know that you're not alone and the Pash Fam is here for you. It really is a process. Be okay with where you are, and next thing you know, you'll be able to look back and thank yourself for all of the work you did to get yourself to where you are now. Feel free to share in the comments any particular content creators who inspire you to get over a funk, or any articles, anything else inspiring that you feel like the rest of the Pash Fam can benefit from. Leave it in the comments below. I'm sure somebody will be able to benefit from that information. Well, thank you so much for watching this video, and not just hearing these tips and taking time to take care of yourself, but also time to hear my story. It's always great to share our experiences with one another. And just remember, we're all in this together. So like, comment, and subscribe so that we can all continue on in this journey. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.